Amelia, 9-year-old disabled black girl, was having her birthday party at a small pizzeria with her family and friends. The room was full of laughter and happiness as they celebrated her special day. Amelia loved the Royal Guards. She watched documentaries about them, admiring their courage, strength, and discipline. She even collected photos and articles about them, dreaming of one day meeting her heroes. What Amelia didn't know was that 2 Royal Guards were having dinner at a table nearby. They were dressed in casual clothes and blending in with the crowd, enjoying their meal without anyone recognizing them. Amelia, busy with her party, had no idea that her heroes were so close. The peaceful atmosphere in the pizzeria was quickly shattered and a loud group of bikers pulled up outside. As they walked in, their loud voices and boisterous laughter immediately drew everyone's attention. The bikers, full of confidence and swagger, made their way through the restaurant, disturbing the calm with their crude jokes and raucous behavior. They moved like a pack, dominating the space, not caring who they bothered. The rest of the diners, including Amelia and her family, turned to watch the newcomers, some with uneasy glances, others trying to ignore the chaos they were causing. But it was clear the bikers had no intention of keeping their noise to themselves. As they approached Amelia's table, one of them accidentally knocked over a drink, spilling it all over her lap. The liquid splashed across her bright birthday shirt, and the noise made Amelia flinch. She looked down at the mess, upset and embarrassed, but she quickly tried to apologize, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry," she said, her hands shaking slightly as she wiped the spill. But the biker didn't care. He sneered at her, his face twisted in mockery. "What, you think a sorry will fix it, huh?" he scoffed. "You're just a crippled beggar. What do you know about anything?" His words were sharp, and the cruelty in his tone made Amelia's face go pale. The other bikers laughed, egging him on. "What should we expect from a little cripple, huh?" one of them chimed in, and the group snickered. Amelia sat frozen, feeling humiliated, unsure of what to do next. Amelia's heart raced as she tried to defend herself, but her voice trembled under the harsh taunts. I didn't mean to," she stammered, her hands gripping the arms of her wheelchair as if they could offer some comfort. But the biker wasn't interested in her apology. He sneered at her, his words growing louder and more cruel. "Didn't mean to? What's your excuse now, huh?" he mocked. "You think you can just sit there and apologize for everything? You'll never be anything more than a pathetic little cripple." Amelia's face turned red, her body tense, but the words wouldn't come. She wanted to speak, to fight back, but the biker's insults were so harsh that they seemed to trap her inside herself. She swallowed hard, trying to keep the tears back, but it was hard. His words, and the way the others laughed, made her feel small, invisible, like she didn't even matter. The biker didn't stop. "You're just a burden," he continued, stepping even closer, "and you'll always be one. No one will ever care about you." He laughed cruelly, his voice ringing through the restaurant. The rest of the diners in the pizzeria were now watching the scene unfold. Some looked uncomfortable, others glanced away, unsure whether they should step in. The silence in the room was heavy with tension. Amelia's family sat frozen, unsure of how to react, while the other patrons nervously avoided eye contact, hoping the situation would pass. Amelia felt the weight of the eyes on her. It was like the whole world was watching, and she was too scared to do anything about it. The bikers' laughter echoed around her, but deep inside, something began to stir. The noise of the pizzeria seemed to grow louder with each passing second, and the bikers' cruel words echoed in Amelia's ears. She felt like she was shrinking, her heart pounding as she tried to stay calm. But just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, a shift in the air caught her attention. 2 figures, sitting at a quiet table near the back of the restaurant, had noticed the commotion. They had been eating their meal in silence, blending into the background like any other diner. But as the bikers continued their taunts, their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. The first guard was the first to stand, his movements smooth and controlled. His posture straightened, and his demeanor shifted in an instant, exuding an air of authority and calm. The second guard followed, rising with equal ease. Together, they began walking toward Amelia's table, their footsteps quiet but deliberate, every motion filled with purpose. Amelia, still shaken by the insults and feeling trapped in her wheelchair, noticed them moving toward her. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she realized who they were. Her heart skipped a beat. These were her heroes, the royal guards she had admired for so long. She had watched them on TV, studied their discipline and strength, and now, here they were, standing up for her. Amelia could hardly believe it. The men she had dreamed of meeting were now standing in front of her, moving with such calm and confidence that it felt like time had slowed down. She had always imagined them as untouchable, as figures of strength and power. But now, they weren't just distant idols, they were real. They were here, in the flesh, and they were here for her. The guards exchanged a brief glance, a silent understanding passing between them. They didn't need words to know what needed to be done. They were trained professionals, ready to face any threat with calm assurance. Amelia's breath caught in her throat as she watched the two men approach the bikers. Her mind raced. This was the moment she had never expected, her heroes were about to step in. The air in the pizzeria felt charged, the tension thick with anticipation. The royal guards approached the bikers, their every movement deliberate and confident. The first guard, taller and broader than the rest, stepped up to the lead biker, his presence demanding attention. Without a word, he placed a firm hand on the biker's shoulder, his grip strong and unyielding. "Stop," the guard said, his voice calm but firm. The biker froze for a moment, his bravado faltering as the weight of the guard's touch registered. The guard's steady, unwavering gaze made it clear this was not a request, it was an order. The second royal guard stood beside him, his imposing stature adding to the pressure. Together, the guards formed a wall of strength, their posture exuding authority. The bikers, who had been so confident only moments ago, now felt a wave of unease wash over them. The room had gone quiet, all eyes on the confrontation unfolding before them. The lead biker, though surprised, quickly tried to brush it off. He turned his head, sneering at the guards with a mocking laugh. "What's this? You think you can just push me around?" His voice was thick with sarcasm, but the nervousness behind his words was hard to ignore. He looked down at the guard's hand on his shoulder, trying to shrug it off, but the guard's grip didn't move. He tried again, his voice louder now, attempting to mask his unease with more bravado. "You're just some uniformed fools. You really think you can make me apologize to this girl?" The biker scoffed, clearly mocking the guards, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. The royal guards, however, remained calm, their eyes locked on the biker with a quiet intensity. The first guard spoke again, his voice colder this time. "You're going to apologize to her. Now." His words carried an undeniable force, not a threat, but an ironclad certainty that made the biker hesitate. The second guard stepped even closer, his presence a reminder that they were not there for games. The bikers could sense the shift, they were no longer in control of the situation. The lead biker's arrogance began to crack as the reality of the guard's strength sank in. He was no longer the one in charge. The moment of mockery had passed. The silence in the pizzeria hung heavy, the only sound now the low hum of tension in the air. The bikers, feeling their intimidation slipping, took a step closer, trying to use their size and presence to assert control once more. They surrounded the two royal guards, their faces twisted with defiance and arrogance, attempting to stare them down. But the guards remained unfazed, their calmness in the face of such hostility only making their authority more apparent. The lead biker, frustrated by the calm demeanor of the guards, clenched his fists. His eyes narrowed, a dangerous glint flashing in his gaze as he took another step forward. His hand moved to his jacket, and with a quick, practiced motion, he reached for something inside, perhaps a weapon, perhaps a threat. His intent was clear: he wanted to show these men that he wouldn't back down. But before he could even get a grip on whatever he was reaching for, the first royal guard reacted with lightning speed. His hand shot out, grabbing the lead biker's wrist with an iron grip. The biker froze, unable to move, his attempt at intimidation stopped dead in its tracks. Without hesitation, the guard twisted the biker's arm, expertly disarming him and pushing the hand away in one smooth motion. The biker's eyes widened in shock as the weapon, whatever it was swiftly sent flying from his hand, landing out of reach. Before the biker could even process what had happened, the guard swiftly locked his other arm around the biker's neck, using the biker's momentum against him. The move was fluid, controlled, one trained professional easily overpowering the unprepared man. The lead biker, now trapped, struggled in the guard's hold, his defiance replaced by a growing sense of panic. The rest of the bikers hesitated. They had been ready to back up their leader, but they were now witnessing the guard's speed and precision. The biker who had been the loudest and most threatening was now at the mercy of the royal guard, subdued with effortless skill. The other bikers exchanged uncertain glances, their confidence fading as they realized they were out of their depth. They had underestimated the power of these two men, and the tables had turned in a heartbeat. The royal guards stood firm, their eyes unwavering as they addressed the bikers, who were now completely subdued. The tension in the air was thick, but the guard's presence was like a rock in the storm. The first guard spoke calmly, his voice carrying across the room. "You're leaving now. No more trouble." The bikers, who had been so arrogant just moments ago, stood silent. The lead biker, still trapped in the guard's hold, let out a low, defeated sigh as the reality of the situation sank in. There was no room left for rebellion, no place for their loud defiance. They had been beaten without a single blow, their pride shattered by the calm strength of these men. With a final look at the group, the second royal guard nodded to the first. "Let's get them outside," he said, his voice steady. Without another word, the guards gently but firmly guided the bikers toward the door, each one now docile, their swagger gone. The bikers exchanged uneasy glances, their heads hanging low as they followed the guards. The sound of their footsteps, once confident and bold, was now muffled and slow. As the door opened, the cold night air rushed in, and the bikers, now subdued and quiet, were escorted outside. The police, waiting just outside, moved in swiftly, ready to take the group into custody. The bikers, who had been so full of themselves moments ago, now looked small and ashamed as they were led away. Their bravado had crumbled in the face of true strength. Inside, the pizzeria erupted into applause. The other patrons, who had been too afraid to intervene earlier, now stood and cheered. It wasn't just for the bikers being removed, it was for the courage and strength of the royal guards, who had stepped in when no one else would. Amelia, sitting at her table, felt a rush of gratitude fill her heart. She had been a victim, but now, she was witnessing something extraordinary. Looking up at the royal guards, Amelia's voice trembled as she spoke, thank you so much." The guards smiled down at her, their faces softening with kindness. "You're safe now, miss," one of them said. "No one's going to hurt you." Amelia's heart swelled with emotion. For the first time that night, she didn't feel afraid. She didn't feel small. She felt protected, and she felt proud. The atmosphere in the pizzeria had shifted entirely. The noise and chaos of the bikers had been replaced with the gentle hum of voices, and the air felt lighter. Amelia, still sitting in her wheelchair, could hardly believe what had just happened. The royal guards had stepped in, saved her from humiliation, and now the weight she had been carrying in her chest seemed to lift. For the first time that night, Amelia no longer felt small. The cruel words of the bikers no longer echoed in her ears. She felt stronger, braver, like the heroes she had admired from a distance for so long had shown her what true strength really looked like. Her heart swelled with admiration for the two men who had protected her, who had shown her what it meant to stand tall, no matter the odds. Amelia looked around the room at her family and friends, all of them smiling and talking, grateful for the way things had turned out. It wasn't just about the bikers being removed. It was about the lesson they had all witnessed, the lesson that no one, no matter their size, should ever be underestimated. Amelia wasn't just a girl in a wheelchair anymore. She was a fighter, a survivor. And she knew now, more than ever, that strength came from within. As the royal guards prepared to leave, Amelia watched them with wide eyes, her heart full. They hadn't just saved her, they had inspired her. She had watched them for years on TV, dreaming of one day meeting them. But now, they had taught her something far greater, the true meaning of courage and bravery. One of the guards turned back to her, giving her a gentle nod. Amelia smiled, her eyes bright with emotion. She had witnessed something incredible, and it was something that would stay with her forever. As the guards walked out the door, Amelia sat up straighter, feeling more empowered than she ever had before. The night may have started with fear, but it ended with strength and inspiration, thanks to the real-life heroes who had reminded her that no matter who you are, you can always stand tall.